Artificial intelligence is facilitating a historic transfer of wealth. Beyond the hypothetical risks of the future, the immediate reality is a consolidation of capital and power into a handful of private firms. There is a popular story in Silicon Valley that artificial intelligence is a standalone miracle, a machine built from scratch by a few isolated geniuses in a lab. That narrative serves a very specific purpose for tech leaders like Mark Zuckerberg. It justifies keeping the immense profits and power of this technology strictly in the hands of a few private companies. But AI wasn't conjured out of thin air. At its core, an AI is a prediction engine. And to make those predictions, it had to be trained on our collective human intelligence, spanning generations of books, artwork, conversations, and computer code. These models are sophisticated mirrors of our digital world. Their intelligence is derived from the trillions of data points generated by humanity's shared history of creation and communication. To build these mirrors, tech companies engaged in one of the largest data scraping operations in history. They treated human creativity like a raw material waiting to be mined. Even industry leaders like Sam Altman have acknowledged that their AI models are explicitly trained on the collective experience and learning of the public. Yet the millions of people who wrote the articles, painted the pictures, and coded the software were never asked for permission. They received no acknowledgement and certainly no compensation. What we are watching is the uncompensated extraction of millions of hours of human labor, packaged and sold to enrich a very small group of investors. When a private company extracts wealth from a public resource, basic economic principles dictate that the public should get a cut of the returns. We've actually seen this work before. When oil was discovered in Alaska, the state established a sovereign wealth fund. Every year since, it has paid out a piece of that oil revenue directly to its residents as a dividend. Norway did the exact same thing with its offshore oil reserves, building a massive public fund that is now worth roughly $2 trillion. This chart shows a historical comparison. If oil was the defining resource of the 20th century, collective human data is the defining resource of the 21st. AI scrapers pulling our information into servers are the modern equivalent of oil derricks pumping crude into a pipeline. Since our collective data functions as a tangible public resource, the historical precedent is clear. The economic remedy to this mass extraction is a sovereign wealth fund. Senator Bernie Sanders is proposing exactly that, with a piece of legislation called the American AI Sovereign Wealth Fund Act. The bill proposes a one-time 50% tax levied directly on the largest AI corporations in the United States, placing those assets into a public trust. Crucially, this tax doesn't apply to corporate profits, it applies directly to company stock. Surprisingly, the idea of a public stake in AI actually has broad support from across the political spectrum, and even from within the tech industry itself. Elon Musk has publicly stated that direct federal payments to citizens are the most logical response to AI replacing human jobs. And Donald Trump has also proposed establishing a national sovereign wealth fund for the United States to capture domestic economic growth. By taxing equity instead of easily manipulated revenue streams, the fund mathematically guarantees that the public secures direct ownership in the technology they helped build. That ownership stake translates into direct financial benefits. As these companies grow, the fund would issue guaranteed dividend payments directly to the American people. With artificial intelligence projected to generate trillions of dollars in wealth, those returns could be used to permanently fund universal healthcare, education, and affordable housing. Right now, the rules governing how AI is deployed and who it benefits are being written behind closed doors by corporate boards in Silicon Valley. Holding a massive block of stock changes that dynamic entirely. It gives the public voting power, securing a literal seat at the table to help decide how these systems are used. We cannot exercise democratic oversight over a technology with the power to reshape society unless we hold actual financial leverage over the companies developing it. Artificial intelligence has the capacity to help solve massive global challenges, but left completely unchecked, it will permanently concentrate extreme wealth into a very small tech oligarchy. A public wealth fund envisions a different outcome. It creates a system where workers, artists, and local communities are active participants in governing the technology, rather than passive consumers reacting to it. The prediction engines that will determine the shape of tomorrow were constructed by mining the knowledge and labor of our past. The human data used to train these models is a public resource, more valuable than any oil field. If our collective output is the engine of this economic growth, then the resulting prosperity belongs to all of us.